On the edge of a wide and whispering valley, where the wind braided songs through tall grasses, and the sky felt close enough to touch, there lived a little girl named Isla. Her home sat where the earth dipped into a gentle hollow, as if the land itself had chosen to rest there. Each morning, sunlight spilled across the valley like warm honey, and each evening, the stars gathered like quiet listeners above the hills. Isla loved the in-between moments most. The soft pauses. The places where nothing hurried, and everything simply was. She had a habit of collecting small things that others passed by. Smooth stones from the river's edge. Feathers caught in low branches. Twigs shaped like question marks. She kept them in a wide, shallow basket near her door, and when the wind rattled the windows at night, she liked to imagine her little treasures whispering stories to one another. One morning, as the sky wore a pale pink blush and the air felt cool and new, Isla stepped outside with her basket tucked under her arm. The valley greeted her with a quiet hum. Birds stitched the air with soft calls. The grass bent gently beneath her bare feet. And somewhere far away, water laughed over stones. That was the sound she followed. Down a winding path and past a leaning willow, Isla found the river. It wasn't wide or fast, but it moved with a steady confidence, like it knew exactly where it was going. Along its banks, stones of every shape and color waited in the shallow water. Gray ones? Golden ones? Speckled ones? Some are flat and wide. Some are round and small. Isla crouched down and touched one with her fingertips. It was cool. Solid. Quiet. She placed it in her basket. Then another. And another. Soon, her basket felt heavy, and her arms wrapped around it as she made her way back up the path, step by careful step. At home, Isla spread the stones across a smooth wooden board in the yard. She sat cross-legged in front of them, her chin resting in her hands. They looked like a scattered family. Different. Unique. Waiting. I wonder, she whispered, what you want to become. The wind moved through the grass, but the stones stayed still. So Isla began to play. She stacked one stone on top of another. The first tower leaned and fell. She laughed softly. The second tower wobbled and tipped. She tried again. This time, she chose a wide stone for the bottom and a smaller one for the top. It stood for a moment. Long enough for her to hold her breath. Then it slipped and tumbled into a gentle clatter. Isla sighed. Not a sad sigh. Just a thoughtful one. She looked at her hands. Then at the stones. Then in the sky. And she noticed something. The clouds were stacked too. Wide ones beneath. Thin, drifting ones above. They didn't rush. They didn't push. They simply found their place. So Isla slowed down. She picked up a stone and turned it over in her palms. She felt its edges. Its weight. Its quiet strength. Where do you belong? She asked. The stone, of course, didn't answer. But her hands did. They moved toward a flat, steady piece of rock and set it down as the base. Then she chose a slightly smaller stone. Not too round. Not too sharp. She placed it gently on top. The tower stood. Her heart lifted. She added another. And another. The stack rose higher than her knees. Higher than her waist. Higher than the tall grass around her. She leaned back to admire it. And for a moment, everything felt perfectly balanced. Then a breeze wandered by. Not a strong one. Just a curious one. The tower shivered. And slowly, quietly it fell. The stones rolled away in different directions. Isla sat very still. She felt something inside her chest shift. A small, tight feeling. Not quite sadness. Not quite frustration. Something in between. She gathered the stones back into a circle. This time, she didn't rush to stack them. She placed them in a line. From biggest to smallest. Like a path. She stood up and walked along it. Heel to toe. Heel to toe. Her arms stretched out to her sides. She wobbled. She laughed. She steadied herself. As she walked, she noticed how her body leaned when she moved too fast. How it found stillness when she slowed down. The stones beneath her feet felt like quiet teachers. She stopped at the end of the line and looked back. I think I understand, she said softly. She returned to her tower. This time, she didn't try to make it tall. She tried to make it steady. A wide base. A gentle middle. A small, careful top. She placed each stone as it mattered. It had its own role. Its own space. The tower grew. Not as high as before. But stronger. The breeze passed again. The tower stayed. Isla smiled. The day stretched on. The sun climbed. Shadows moved. Birds came and went. And Isla kept building. Sometimes the tower fell. Sometimes it stood. Each time, she learned something new. That round stones liked the middle. Those flat ones liked the bottom. Those tiny ones didn't like being squished. And slowly, without quite noticing, she began to treat herself the same way. When she felt tired, she sat down. When she felt excited, she ran in circles around the yard. When she felt quiet, she lay on her back and watched the clouds stack themselves in the sky. As the afternoon drifted toward evening, the air turned golden. Isla built her tallest tower yet. It reached almost to her shoulders. She circled it, careful and proud. The stones glowed in the low sunlight. For a moment, the whole world seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the path leading into the valley, a soft sound floated toward her. Footsteps. Slow ones? Isla turned. An old traveler walked toward her, leaning on a curved staff. Their cloak was the color of dust and dawn. Their hair shone like silver threads. They stopped a few steps away and looked at the tower. Ah, they said gently. You've been listening to the stones. Isla blinked. They don't talk, she said. The traveler smiled. They don't need to. They sat down on the grass beside her. For a while, either of them spoke. The tower stood between them. Quiet. Steady. Did you make this to reach the sky? The traveler asked. Isla shook her head. I made it to stand, she said. The traveler nodded, as if that was the best answer in the world. Do you know, they said, that people are like towers too? Isla tilted her head. The traveler picked up a small stone. Some parts of us are strong and wide, they said, placing it on the ground. Some parts are curious and round, they added, setting another on top. And some parts are light and small, they finished, balancing a tiny pebble at the top. The little stack wobbled. The traveler steadied it with one finger. If we put the light parts at the bottom, they said, everything falls. Isla watched closely. If we forget the strong parts, the traveler continued, nothing can stand. The tiny stack leaned and toppled. Isla built it again. This time, she chose the stones carefully. The traveler's eyes sparkled. They stood up slowly. You already know, they said. Isla felt a warm glow in her chest. The traveler began to walk away, their staff tapping softly against the path. Isla called out, Will you come back? The traveler turned. Every time you stack a stone, they said, I will be there. And then, like a shadow at sunset, they faded into the valley. The sky deepened into purple and blue. Stars peeked out one by one. Isla carefully took her tower apart. She placed each stone back into her basket. Not in a hurry. Not with a rush. Just one at a time. At home, she set the basket by her door. That night, as she lay in bed, she stacked her thoughts the way she stacked her stones. Big, steady thoughts at the bottom. Gentle ones in the middle. Soft, quiet ones on top. Sleep came like a warm blanket. In the days that followed, Isla carried the balancing stones with her in new ways. When she felt upset, she imagined placing a wide stone at the bottom of her feelings. When she felt too full of energy, she pictured a small stone at the top, reminding her to slow. She built towers by the river. On the hill. In the sand. Some lasted. Some didn't. But every tower taught her something. One morning, a group of children from the valley came to watch her. They tried to build their own towers. They laughed when they fell. They cheered when they stood. Soon, the whole river bank was dotted with small, brave stacks of stone. The valley seemed to smile. As seasons passed, Isla grew. Her legs grew longer. Her hair grew thicker. But her hands still loved the feel of cool stone. One evening, as the sky burned orange and gold, she built a tower with a very small child beside her. The child's hands were clumsy. The stones slipped and rolled. Isla didn't rush in to fix it. She waited. She watched. The child tried again. And again. And finally, the tower stood. The child looked up at Isla with wide, shining eyes. Isla smiled. The wind whispered through the grass. The river laughed its steady laugh. And the stones, in their quiet way, stood tall. In the soft glow of the fading day, Isla understood something she had always known, deep down. Every stone has its place. Every tower its own shape. And every heart, like every stack, finds balance not by reaching the highest, but by standing steady, right where it is.